When you make me give him up because he has a bad arm.
Oh, it's not the only reason. He's a quarter of a century too old. Did she tell you that?
Your daughter is sad and lonely, Robert. Now, I don't mean to interfere, but...
When we think about big endings in television history, Downton Abbey instantly comes to mind now because its grand finale movie felt like closing the door on an entire era. The film wrapped up years of storytelling in a way that honored both the characters and the fans. But here's the thing. In today's world, nothing ever really ends for good. Franchises always seem to find ways to come back, either through spin-offs, reboots, or brand new chapters. So even though Downton Abbey, the grand finale, was presented as the ultimate conclusion, the way it was written almost feels like it quietly left a window open for the possibility of Season 7 or something similar down the line. That's what makes talking about it so interesting. For me personally, this show has been around for such a long chunk of life that it almost feels like family. I still remember starting it back in school, mostly because I was excited to see Maggie Smith outside of Harry Potter. Watching it with my mom became a tradition we carried long after the show ended its original run, and then when it came back in 2019, it was like welcoming old friends home. That sense of attachment is exactly why its grand finale felt so huge, because it wasn't just closing a story, it was capping off something audiences have held close for nearly 15 years. What's wild is that Downton Abbey has technically ended twice now. The series finale was one ending, and then the movie gave us another. Both leaned into emotional satisfaction, delivering characters who found peace, happiness, and the promise of moving forward. But the movie's ending feels even bigger than the series finale because it's not only tying up storylines, but also reflecting on everything that made the show so beloved. It's as if Julian Fellowes and Simon Curtis wanted fans to feel closure while also being reminded of why they fell in love with Downton in the first place. Take Lady Mary, for example. By the end of the grand finale, she's officially in charge of the estate, standing in the Great Hall all by herself while the rest of her family begins scattering toward their own futures. At first glance, that could have felt like a lonely and even somber image, especially for such a fiery character. But then the film does something unexpected. It reintroduces the dearly departed. Suddenly, Matthew, Sybil, and of course Violet, the Dowager Countess, appear again, alive within the story's memory, dancing and laughing in a room full of joy. That choice is powerful because it blends the past and the present into a single farewell. It's like the film is saying, yes, time has moved on, but we carry these characters with us forever. For me, that was the emotional gut punch. I went in expecting tears throughout, but surprisingly I held it together until Matthew appeared. Seeing him again made the memories flood in, and by the time Sybil glanced back over her shoulder, I was done for. That's the kind of ending that acknowledges how much the audience has invested over the years, because it isn't just about the Crawleys, it's about us too. And that's what makes me wonder. If the finale is so steeped in honoring the past while setting Mary up with a new future, doesn't that sort of leave the door open? Because even though it's branded as the grand finale, it's still charting a path that Season 7 could easily follow. Mary running the estate as a divorced woman in a changing society? That's a whole new storyline begging to be explored. The plot itself already hints at unresolved threads that a future season could pick up. Mary's divorce from Henry throws her reputation into chaos, especially because high society wasn't exactly kind to divorced women in that era. She even gets booted from a party just because royalty was attending, which shows how harsh the judgment was. On top of that, Harold Levinson visits and drops the bomb that he's lost a massive chunk of the family's money, putting Downton's financial security at risk again. So right away, we see potential conflict. Mary as a divorcee fighting to prove herself while also keeping the estate afloat. And then you add Gus into the mix, Harold's so-called friend who turns out to be a total con artist. Mary has a fling with him, but once his true motives come to light, it's Lady Edith who swoops in to protect her sister and the family's name. That moment feels important because it shows Edith and Mary, who are often at odds in the series, working together in a way that suggests their relationship has matured. And honestly, seeing them side by side like that feels like another setup for future stories. Because if Mary is going to be the matriarch, wouldn't Edith's support be essential? Elsewhere, we also see Daisy, who has worked her way up from a simple kitchen maid to the head cook, finally being recognized in a bigger role. Isabel defends her position on the town fair board, which feels like a symbolic generational shift. These little details aren't just nice touches for longtime fans, they're hints of how Downton and its community are evolving. And whenever a story emphasizes change that strongly, it rarely signals a complete end. It usually signals the beginning of another phase. By the time the movie closes, Robert finally steps aside and lets Mary take the reins. That moment is massive because it shows just how far she has come. She stays at the estate with her children while her parents move into a smaller home nearby. She's even named godmother to Anna's child, which ties her personal life to the staff in a way that underscores her new role as the heart of Downton. The flashbacks at the very end, dancing with Matthew, glimpses of Sybil smiling, just reinforce how much she has lost and how much she now carries forward. And so, while the title screams finale, the ending itself whispers there's more to come. It's like Fellowes wanted fans to feel fully satisfied but not abandoned. That balance makes it easy to imagine a Season 7, one where Mary has to navigate modernity, money, motherhood, and her place in society. Even though it might not be in the works yet, the ingredients are all there. It's also worth pointing out that the creators themselves haven't completely ruled it out. Gareth Nemi even said he reserves the right to change his mind about the franchise's ending. Now that's not exactly a firm no, which means we could very well see a reboot or continuation someday. And if you think about it, television landscapes thrive on nostalgia now. Fans love coming back to worlds they know, and with the success of Downton Abbey across 6 seasons, 5 specials, and 3 movies, there's no denying that interest would be there. So what would a Season 7 look like? Honestly, it could be even grander than anything we've seen so far, precisely because it would be the first chapter of a new era. Mary's story alone offers enough to carry a season. Her fight to prove she belongs in high society despite being divorced, her efforts to secure the estate's finances, and maybe even new romantic possibilities if her heart ever heals again. Then you add Edith, Daisy, Anna, and the rest of the ensemble, each with fresh challenges that reflect changing times. It would be a season not about ending something, but about redefining what Downton Abbey means in a new world. And that's why I think the grand finale wasn't just a conclusion, but also a blueprint. Because it reminded us of everything we loved about Downton Abbey, while also planting seeds for where it could go next. Even if nothing ever comes, fans can hold on to this film as the perfect bow on the story. But if something does come, whether it's Season 7, a spin-off, or a reboot, we'll all look back at this movie and realize it was the bridge. In the end, the grand finale gave us closure, but not the kind that feels suffocating or absolute. It honored the past, gave the present its due, and hinted at a future. That's the kind of ending that doesn't just make you sad to say goodbye, it makes you hopeful that someday the doors of Downton Abbey might swing open once again. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.